Okay, real talk. You're standing in a store, or maybe you're scrolling at 11 p.m., which is honestly worse, and you see something, a jacket, a gadget, a skincare set. Whatever it is, your brain goes, I need this. And then you check out, and then 3 days later, it's sitting in the corner of your room with the tag still on it, or worse, it hasn't even arrived yet and you already regret it. And here's the part nobody talks about. You knew. Somewhere in the back of your mind, while you were typing in your card number, you knew you didn't really need it, but you bought it anyway. That's not a willpower problem. That's not a you problem. That is literally how your brain was designed to work. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to use one simple rule to outsmart it. My name is Ava, and I spend way too much time thinking about impulse spending and why we keep buying things we don't actually want. If you're someone who checks their bank account at the end of the month and genuinely cannot explain where the money went, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. All right, let's start with some numbers because I think this is going to surprise you. The average American spends roughly $314 a month on impulse purchases. That's according to a Slick Deal survey. And before you say, well, that's not me, I want you to think about your last 3 purchases that weren't groceries or bills. Just think about them. $314 a month is $3,768 a year. Over 10 years, that's close to $38,000. And if you had invested even half of that, $157 a month, in a conservative 7% return in an index fund, after 30 years, you'd be looking at somewhere around $185,000. That's not a vacation fund. That's a retirement difference. That's a house down payment. That's life-changing money bleeding out through weekend impulse buys and things you added to cart at midnight. Here's the thing. It's not that we're bad with money. It's that nobody ever explained to us why we spend the way we do. Look, there's a reason that stores smell a certain way. There's a reason flash sales always have a countdown timer. There's a reason your favorite app sends you a notification that says, only 3 left in stock. It's called manufactured urgency, and it hijacks a very real psychological response in your brain called the scarcity effect. When your brain perceives that something might disappear, it shortcuts your rational decision-making and pumps out dopamine, the same chemical associated with excitement and reward, before you've even bought the thing. So you're not buying the product, you're buying the feeling of getting the product. And the moment you check out, the dopamine fades, which is why so many things sit in closets with the tags on. There's actually a name for this: retail therapy hedonic adaptation. The emotional high from a purchase fades within 72 hours for most non-essential items. And that number, 72 hours, is not an accident. That's exactly where the 3-day rule comes in. The rule is almost embarrassingly simple, and I think that's why people underestimate it. If something is not a planned purchase, you wait 3 days before buying it. That's it. You don't delete it from your cart, you don't talk yourself out of it, you just kind of wait 72 hours. And then, on day 3, you ask yourself one question: do I still want this? Here's what most people don't realize. The majority of the time, the answer is no, or at least it becomes, I want it, but not enough to actually spend money on it. And that distinction is everything. Studies in behavioral economics, including research from the Journal of Consumer Psychology, show that when a cooling-off period is introduced before a purchase, impulse buying drops by up to 53%, more than half, just by adding time between the desire and the action, because time is the one thing manufactured urgency cannot survive. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Ava, but what about sales? What if it's gone in 3 days? And that is a completely fair objection, so let me address it directly. If a sale is genuinely on something you had already planned to buy, meaning it was already on a list before the sale appeared, then yes, the 3-day rule has a built-in exception for planned purchases. You planned it, the sale is a bonus, buy it. But here's the thing, if you were never going to spend money on it until you saw the sale, that's not saving money. That's spending money you weren't going to spend. There is no discount when the original budget was 0. I want you to think about it like this. Imagine you walk past a store and there's a sign that says 50% off all shoes. You weren't shoe shopping. You go in, you spend $80 on shoes that are on sale from $160. You didn't save $80. You spent $80 you had no intention of spending this morning. The sale created the purchase. That's exactly what retailers want.
So here's where it gets really interesting, because the 3-day rule isn't just about waiting. The waiting period is the setup. What you do on day 3 is the actual work. When day 3 arrives, you pull up whatever it is you saved and you ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. Do I still want this, or did the feeling pass? If you've forgotten about it entirely, that's your answer. Most things we impulse want are forgotten within 48 hours without any effort at all. 2. Where is this money actually coming from? Not theoretically, specifically. Is it coming from savings, from this month's fund budget, from your rent money? Naming the source forces your brain to make the trade-off feel real. You're not spending $90. You're spending $90 that was going toward your emergency fund. 3. Will this matter to me in 30 days? Not 30 years, just 30 days. This is a short enough window to be honest about. A lot of things we buy don't even matter to us in 30 hours, let alone 30 days. If you can genuinely say yes, it will still matter, then you have a much stronger case for buying it. Let me show you something that I think is going to stick with you. Say you currently make 2 impulse purchases a week. Nothing crazy, maybe a $25 online order, a $15 add-on at checkout, something like that. That's roughly $160 a month. You implement the 3-day rule. Research suggests you'll eliminate about half of those purchases, so you're now spending $80 a month on things you actually still want on day 3. You redirect that $80 to a high-yield savings account, earning around 4.5%, which is realistic right now in 2026. In 1 year, you've saved $960 plus interest. In 5 years, that compounds to over $5,300. And we're talking about $80 a month. We're talking about skipping the purchases you forgot you even wanted. The 3-day rule doesn't make you stop enjoying your money. It makes sure you're spending it on things that actually bring you joy, rather than things that brought you a dopamine spike at 11 p.m. Here's my honest take. Restriction without replacement doesn't work. If you just tell yourself, stop buying things, you'll white-knuckle it for 2 weeks and then go on the most spectacular shopping spree of your life. We've all been there. So the 3-day rule isn't about deprivation, it's about intentional delay. And there are a few things that actually make it stick. First, create a wish list, not a cart. Instead of adding things to your cart, screenshot it. Write it in the Notes app, save it to a wish list. Putting it in a cart triggers something called the endowment effect. Your brain starts treating it like it's already yours, which makes it much harder to walk away. Second, schedule a weekly want review. Once a week, go through everything you've saved and apply the 3 questions. This turns impulse spending from a random, emotionally driven thing into a system, and systems beat willpower every single time. Third, redirect, don't restrict. When you feel the urge to buy something, open your savings app and make a small transfer instead. Even $5. It scratches the same "I did a financial action" itch while actually building your future. Look, I want to leave you with something. Most people think financial freedom is about income, that if they just made more money, they'd be fine. And I understand why, because that's the story we're told. But the truth is, the gap between where you are and where you want to be financially is almost always about the distance between your impulses and your intentions. The 3-day rule is a tiny habit, 3 days, 1 question. But compounded over months and years, it is one of the most powerful things you can do for your financial life, not because it's complicated, but because it gives you back something that the entire marketing industry is designed to take from you, your pause. And in that pause, that's where your actual choices live. So this week, not next month, not when you feel more ready, this week, I want you to pick one thing you were about to buy impulsively and give it 3 days. Just one thing. See what happens. If this video gave you something to think about, please hit that thumbs up button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this. And subscribe if you want to keep having these kinds of honest conversations about money. I'll see you in the next one.